Salutations, everyone. I just wanted to kind of come back on once again and do a follow up on the video that I did last night about Ari Lennox's views on Martin's banter towards Pam. And so I was looking at some other videos and I was getting some just want to get some feedback from what they were saying. I was hearing from like people like Rotten the Voice and Bondy Blue that had a strong opinion about Ari Lennox and how um, people shouldn't dismiss what she said about her views on the show and how it affected her. And like I said in my last video, I'm not dismissing it at all, but I do think she says it. I stand by what I said, actually. I stand by what I said the last video. I think it is kind of sensitive, and not to dismiss the ridicule, because we all have had our share, and I've even acknowledged that, especially as a dark skinned woman, the ridicule that I've dealt with, not just for my dark skin, but for a lot of different things too, as well. And even as an adult in my big age, I still get that sometimes from time to time from some people. But that's a separate conversation because we're talking mainly about the Martin and Pam banter and the fact that, yes, even though I still view Martin as one of my favorite shows of all time, but I do acknowledge also the fact that the Martin character was an asshole all around. He was a real asshole, and I've always said, as I got older, like, how did he even maintain any friendships, or how was he able to even have a marriage, much less a relationship with Gina, because he was far from marriage material. He was a man child. So I get all of that, and I don't want it to perceive it to where Ari's Lennox's opinion is invalid, but I just still feel like it's a projection because, again, I feel like maybe people have mixed opinions about this because Pam was the main target, even though Martin targeted others as well, but he was the main target. I mean, Pam was the main target as far as Martin goes, and I don't think that Martin made Pam the main target of his banter solely because she was dark skinned. So I think that's the perception that I'm hearing from a lot of people doing this commentary, and that's not the case at all to me. I don't think that his banter or his jokes towards Pam, and her being the main target, had nothing to do with her being dark skinned. It just was roles that they played, and they was clap back because Pam, I don't know, people must have forgotten that Pam had gotten her share of clapbacks as well with the height jokes and the ears, and she also had her share of references towards Martin in the animal form, in Child Private Eye. I mean, she had her share of banter too. So, but like I said, I don't want to dismiss the other commentary about Pam with the buckshot BDBs, her teeth, her breath. Whatever you find funny, it's okay. Whatever you find funny, and whatever you and I think it also goes with the BDB joke. I know it also resonates with a lot of Black women at a time where coarse hair, that type of texture was always frowned upon as well. The nappy hair trend, the nappy hair epidemic, as I may call it, and how. But that again, to me, a lot of these different different types of forms of ridicule when it came to the hair, when it came to someone's aesthetic. I think they was making the TV shows was making light of that, and I'm not trying to dismiss the idea of how Blacks or certain groups of people were treated, but I think at times they was making light of it, and I think that deep down, Martin, there were times defended Pam, because I remember the episode where Gina's snobby friend Monique had came in, and there was a time where Martin had checked Monique at the time when she was saying, "Oh, does she put stores nuts in her little cheeks too?" And she was laughing at that, and Martin was like, "Oh, wait a minute, you don't know that sister enough to call her like that." But I also want to keep in mind that this whole thing about when someone else clowns someone that we know, whether it's friends or family. It's so funny how people from the outside is not allowed to clown them, but as people from within your circle is able to do that. I never agreed to that when people be like, oh, well, I could say, no one else can say that's my sister, or that's my cousin, that's my family. No one else from the outside can say anything or disrespect them. But it's okay if they do it. That I just never liked that. But anyway, I just feel like we just need to kind of, I mean, like I said, it's a good conversation to dive into. So I really hope that I get some comments here, because it's a good conversation to dive into, because it seemed like this is a real, like, heavy topic. But I just feel like, again, we just need to understand the comedic intent. And I don't think that Martin in real life had any intention to offend anyone. It was just banter, because he did that banter. Like I said, I even made that gave that example about Gina, and how she even clowned her about her, her big head, her muscle butt. I would have given you hips if I could have, Gina. I mean, just things like that. And plus, like I said, the way and remember also going back to when they broke up. Remember the time when they broke up, and he says some effed up things to her then too. So just keep that in mind. Like the his share of banter, his share of jokes, and it went across the board. So I still stand on the fact that I think that she was a bit sensitive, and I think she was projecting. And I'm not trying to dismiss the fact that, as a dark skinned woman, how that can how that could come across. And I do understand that. I'm not dismissing anyone's feelings. She's entitled to her opinion about it. But I just feel like, also as a dark skinned woman myself, I do understand how it could come across. But I still, in the reference to Martin and Pam, I don't believe that the jokes towards her was um I don't think the jokes towards her was centered around her being dark skinned, because I know people were saying, well, just because he didn't make any disparaging comments towards her complexion doesn't make it any less colorist. Okay, I get that too. However, I don't believe that Pam was the main target of his jokes, so because of her dark skin. It just happens to be that banter towards her character that was playing a role, and that's how it was. And so all this, yes, I do agree his character, you know, he was flawed as hell. I get it. But again, that was the role he was playing. There's enough of this type of comedy to go around, so we can always have the discussion um, until doomsday about it, because, like I said, there's enough of this to go around. There's enough about content about this to go around. So I just wanted to just follow up and kind of add, a little bit more to the conversation. So again, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. Please comment on this. And like I said, I welcome all kinds of opinions from different aspects, different perspectives. This is a safe space, like I said. I will never condemn or anyone for speaking their mind about it, because I do understand how it is when someone just views you as sensitive. Because I've been called that many times. It seems like when I open my mouth to say something, people want to complain about my mouth and how I may say something, how it comes across. It's easy for them to talk about my tone of voice, and how blunt I am. And I have to eat that. I have to reflect on it, and I have to consider their feelings, and how offensive I might come across. But then when I say something, like if I clap back or if I respond to someone saying something that I feel is hurtful, then it goes into, oh, you're so sensitive. You're being sensitive. You're being defensive. So I understand how that could be very dismissive, because now you're not considering my feelings and how offensive you might have been towards me. But I have to consider what I say towards you. So I see, that's what I'm saying. So I'm able to find that balance, so I get it. But again, my point still stands. And so please, um, just like I said, just let's just engage a little bit, just engage a little bit more on my platform. In the meantime, have a good day.